Today we start finishing out our last 3 tiles by making some hidden rooms to flush out our little sewer dungeon. Alright, so in this episode I'm not really going to go over all the steps in making the tile. We've got the grid lines built in here for the flooring. We've got, our knowledge of how we make the walls and things like that. So I'm not going to go over that. But what I am going to do is kind of show you my thought process for making the little hidden rooms here. Now, in the diagram, it kind of goes through at a diagonal angle. And while I could do that, I still want to maintain that kind of playable area on top of these sections, and making like flooring above that and having the grid kind of offset would be a little problematic. So instead we're going to just kind of mark out a couple of lines, and this is basically going to be just a marker for myself of a 1-inch border around certain parts of the interior of this wall section. Now, what I do want to do is have a walkway go through and come out at 2, maybe 3 sides. So we're going to start by marking that out. Now, I don't want the entrances to be too close to each other, so we're going to go just a little bit offset from where the entrance to the next tile over would be. Alright, so now we've got 3 spaces for some extra rooms, and we're just going to kind of measure out where some little spacing would be. There's no real rhyme or reason to where the rooms are going to go. It's just kind of as I think there's going to be available space. Now, each of these little door arches are going to be 2 inches wide, and that's going to be so that I can make some doors that will kind of slot into them, and the doors will be, a 5-foot wide door, but they're going to take up a 10-foot space just because I want a little bit more of a embellished archway to go along with them. Now, I don't do it here on camera, but I eventually decide that while having these 2 little door arches here is nice, I wanted a 3rd passage through, so I kind of turned this little area into a through and through at a diagonal angle. Now, the previous tile was fairly symmetrical. Both sides were more or less the same. With this one, I wanted something a little bit more unique, so it's mostly the same process. I just kind of lay out rough areas that I know what I want to go in. Like the original diagram, I do still want that large room at the end of a hallway, and this is going to just have a couple of rooms on either side, but they're not going to be the same shape or the same size. Now, if you do layouts kind of like this, you can make rooms look and shape however it is that you want. There's a lot that you can do with very little space, and it kind of gets a little interesting and exciting when you start putting something together that you know is going to be unique and have a whole lot of different playable aspects when you put it down on the table. Alright, so I will kind of finalize these two tiles off camera, and we're going to be working with this one on camera today. Now, I did the layout already, and you can see I've kind of done quite a bit of the initial steps. I've added the grid lines, textured everything, and got it all painted up. But we're going to have two simple rooms and just a hallway kind of arcing through it. Now, one of the sections of walls I've already built, but this side I'm going to do kind of on camera for everyone. And it's pretty simple, and it's going to be relatively quick once we get going. And it's just a simple set of 5-inch pieces of foam, a couple 1-inch pieces of foam, and then this triangle is a 3-inch by 3-inch square that I just kind of cut down the middle to make into a triangle. Okay, so now that we've got our pieces and we know our rough layout, we can go ahead and start building our walls. Okay, so I started by prepping all the walls, and what that really comes down to is each of these green foam pieces are started out as roughly 1 inch thick. All I really did was kind of slim them down just a little bit. Since we're going to be attaching things to both the outside and inside wall sections, that would make them a little bit thicker than 1 inch, and I wanted to keep them as close to that inch width as possible. So here I'm just attaching a couple slips of foam to the sides of a couple of pieces. That's just to give them a little bit of extra length so that they match up with the spacing on the grid. And this is really just to make sure that the space that was lost from trimming sections of the wall down is regained so that everything kind of lines up. Alright, so let's bring that camera in, and now we can start adding our support beams. Now, I'm going to do some stone brick walls, but I kind of want everything to look like there's some like wooden reinforcements for like the ceiling and things like that. So I grabbed a few pieces of some barbecue skewers. This is the same rectangular pieces that I've been working with, and I just clipped them to just under 2 inches in length, about the same length as a matchstick if you take the striker head off, and affix those into position. Now, I'm not going to use these in every corner or at every junction, but what I am going to do is use matchsticks for any hidden corners, and then any areas that are going to be exposed, like doorway arches, are going to have the barbecue skewers. Okay, so we've got a couple of inside corners here, but we need some roof support, so I'm going to add a cross beam with a barbecue skewer across the top. And I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap, probably close to 1/8 of an inch. Nothing super huge, but just enough to recess something in. Now what that something is going to be revealed in the next episode or two, so you're going to have to come back and check out the next episode for that. Okay, so we're going to use our corner matchstick to mark where one wall meets the other. That way, when we lay our bricks, there won't be any bricks hanging over, and everything will fit nice and flush. And I'll add the rest of the support beams off camera. Okay, so now it's time to apply all of our bricks. Now, these are the same little slab bricks that I used in a previous episode. I'm just going to make a simple repeating pattern. If you're curious what this pattern is called, I believe it's called herringbone. Don't quote me on that, I could be very wrong, but I liked the pattern. I think it looked nice, and it was fairly easy to replicate here on the wall. And it adds a little bit of extra dimension to the build so that it's not just that same normal brick pattern that you see all over the place. Now, I'm using the herringbone pattern. You can use whatever pattern you'd like. If you want something more elaborate, you just kind of trim the bricks or put them in whatever fashion you'd like. Now, I am attaching all of these with some hot glue just for expediency, but you can also use PVA or any kind of adhesive to fix them into place. But I will say the hot glue has the added bonus of drying almost immediately, so I don't really have to worry about pushing anything out of position as I'm working. Alright, so now I can trim the overhanging bricks. And we have a nice flush base. Okay, so now I'm going to add some texture using my texture plate that I had kind of laying around. Since I made the rolling pin texture rollers, I have not really had a whole lot of need for this. I've been using it as a dry brush palette, but it comes in handy to have on hand still. Then using a pencil, I defined all of the grout lines for the brick just to make sure that all of the bricks were individually visible, just so that I didn't lose any shape or definition with the texturing. And once I've got everything textured and defined, we can assemble a few of the pieces together. Here I've got a corner section put together, and we've got an exposed corner that kind of needs a little bit of extra detail. So I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue into that little crack there, and then fit a matchstick into place just to kind of give it that impression that this corner is still supported by a wooden post, but it's not so thick that I need to figure out a way to kind of disguise it or embed it into anything. And I'll trim off any excess of the matchstick off camera. Alright, so now that all of our walls have been constructed, it's time for painting. I started out by coating all of the bricks with a layer of black paint and Mod Podge just to give that a little bit of extra durability, as well as shadow in all of the grout lines. Then using a little bit of Artist Loft Gray, I do an overbrushing, just kind of coating all of the bricks, and I'm not really worried about not catching any of the wooden support beams. I'll take care of those in a later step. Then I grabbed some neutral gray and did a two-directional dry brush just to pick out all of the highlights of the texturing. Then for just a little bit of extra highlight, I took some warm gray from Master's Touch and did a downward dry brush starting at the top of the wall just to give a little bit of highlight to make it have that appearance of some light coming in. Now for the wooden support beams, I took some raw umber and a little more detailed brush and just went over all of the exposed wood. This will give it a nice little base coat and cover up any of the stone coloration that we had just finished up with. And once that was dried, I used some raw sienna and did a light overbrushing over all of the surfaces of the wood. This will give everything that nice kind of wooden timber appearance. And then I added a little bit of weathering with some unbleached titanium, and this is just kind of a medium to light dry brush, just to give it a little bit of extra character and a little bit more of a beaten up and weathered appearance. And once that was all dry, it was time to start assembling everything together. So I ended up with a couple of different wall pieces here, and I'm just going to affix them all together with a little bit of some hot glue. Now there was a little bit of a gap between the top of the triangle and the wall section, so I just took a sliver of foam and used that to kind of create a little bit of a bridge to kind of close that gap. Once everything is done and assembled, it won't really be noticeable, and when we get around to putting a top on all of this, it won't be noticeable at all. And then I'm going to affix the strip of flagstone texture around the outside. This is really kind of the same as making the wall sections for the rest of the sewer tile, so it's nothing really fancy or anything like that. It's just a heat gun used with a texture roller to imprint the texture onto the foam so that it sticks into place. And here you can see I'm just kind of wrapping it around the outside with a little bit of hot glue. Now, I don't really want to make this video have the same thing as another video, and I don't want these to feel overly repetitive. So if you want to know how I put together the main wall sections of the sewer, definitely check out that video. But I'm not really going to go over it again here in this one. Alright, that's looking pretty good. So now that everything is coated and painted up, it's time to start affixing it down to our tile. And this is just going to be a little bit of hot glue around the bottom. Normally I would use some all-purpose adhesive, some Loctite or something like that on the bottom, but given the small area I have to work with, hot glue will work just fine. Now, I did run into one small issue. The walls did not quite line up perfectly with the grid, so I just kind of forced it into the position that I thought would work best, and off camera touched up any paint that could be fixed up. Now I will attach the final wall sections off camera to finish out this tile, and I'll get to working on the other two tiles off camera as well. But all in all, here we go with episode 11 finished. Alright, so far the hidden rooms look pretty good. I'm liking how they came out, and I think they fit the theme pretty well. Now the series is almost done, but we've got a couple episodes left, I think. We're definitely going to need to put in some doors. I'm thinking that the doors on the inside where the rooms are hidden are going to be more permanent, but we definitely need to have some like removable doors to kind of swap out between a couple of different options. I'm thinking we need at least one kind of like hidden door. I'm not quite sure how we're going to pull that off yet, but that's going to be handled in the next video because this video and episode is going to be finished. So thank you everyone for watching. Please hit that like button, subscribe for future content, comment down in that comment section, and we will see everyone next episode.